Good evening, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode of Hightop Sports Monday mashup on Tuesday. Had a long Sunday, carried over to Monday, but here we are, Tuesday turmoil, Tuesday together, whatever you want to call it. We're rocking and rolling. Going to talk about a few things. Dan Lanning gets cringy. I didn't expect this from Dan. I got to be honest with you. I got to talk to the Duck, see what he's feeling about it. It's interesting. Then we dive into SEC running backs. We talked with the quarterbacks last week. Let's talk about the running backs this week. Then it gets exciting. Everybody's list came out over the last couple of days, post-spring game, and it got me thinking, who's going to be the guy that lived, who that flops, right? Which FSU was last year? No need to shit on Tyler any more than we already have, but they were the team that kind of laid an egg, right? Top 10 team, didn't even finish anywhere close to that. Then the Cinderella. Who's the team that's going to knock your socks off? I would argue it was Clemson last year. Nobody expected for them to do what they did. Then we'll talk about which coach is most likely to get fired in the middle of the season. Hot seats are easy because who's going to get fired at the end of the year? No. I want to know who's going to get fired mid-season. They're just like, hey, we've had enough. This guy's out of here. We'll get right into it. Without further ado, though, our co-host for the evening, Mr. Cowboy Ty. What's going on, big dog? Good to see you, man.
Not much, buddy. It's always good to be here. This is my favorite time. This is my favorite.
Favorite time of year, not quite, but yeah. Cody Professor could not make it, so no Bush Lattes here today, boys and girls. There's Cowboy Ty and I, but he'll be back in order next week. It's my fault for having to move the filming of today's show, but we're here nonetheless. We don't like to miss it, but let's dive right into it, man. Dan Lanning. These recruiting videos, they always find a way to entertain us. We had the meme of Brian Kelly grinding on one of the recruits just about a couple years ago. Then he had his infamous Southern accent. There's always somebody that gives you something. If you would have said, hey, is Dan Lanning going to be on that bingo card? I didn't think Dan would be on. He carries an aura and a swagger about him. I don't think he needs. Shane Beamer. I would expect this from a Shane Beamer. This is a Shane Beamer move. This, in a way, is a Mike Norvell move. Norvell's a little cringy at times. He's got a weird aura about him. It works. It's him, so I'm okay with it. But not Dan.
Why not Dan? What's wrong with Dan?
You think this look okay, let's play the clip. Here's the recruit, top edge in the country. He goes, a lot of coaches wanted to come hang out, wanted to see what's going on, where I was gonna go. Because only one school I want to be. And then he goes, right, coach? Points to Dan and says, let's go.
Shorts.
This is what bothers me. Hold on real quick. Outside of the jump and all that weird stuff. Let me hold on. No one's talking. Who? Nobody cannonballs like that, Ty.
That's not a cannonball. Yeah.
What are you? What are we doing? You're just working it. You're overdoing it.
Is that a new dive that I don't know about, or
I don't know, man. I don't know. I was, it just didn't feel right. It was a little cringy. I don't know.
We live in the social media day, I'm sure that guys did this stuff back in the day, maybe not to this extent, but
this can't fit for him either because he criticized Colorado about getting clicks, and we play for you're playing for clicks, coach. I know it's not in the middle of the season, but it doesn't fit the aura. I think this was a big out. Look, you got the recruit. It is what it is. I guess if he flips, this will be embarrassing. This will go down in history as a doozy one, to say the least. Look.
Mad at him. I thought it was kind of funny.
Ty loves it. Ty loves the gooberness in it. I love it.
I do. I respect it.
I love it. All right, let's a good little warm up there to start the show. But let's talk about running backs. And like we do most of our lists, Ty and Cody send in their lists, and I go, these lists suck, and I make my own list. No, look, we can only show one list on the screen. We get too many lists, it gets weird. So this was the list. He sent me his, and I said I don't like it. And so then I made my own, but he's going to argue. I'm going to argue for the reason why I made my changes, that I did what I didn't, and hopefully try to convince you on why you were wrong and give you the opportunity to convince me. Last time I waved the flag. Remember, I felt like I overshot on one of the quarterbacks. So
you missed Arch for sure.
Yeah. So that was, I acknowledge that. All right. And I can do that when it's right. I think I'm spot on this one. Let's start off with number one. You had Cade Durham as your number one running back. Okay. We both had Jaden Ball at number 2, and we'll get into that. But let's talk about Cade and Trey Wisner first, because that's where the first switch up is. My reason for pushing Cade down below Jaden right? Because look, both freshman guys coming in, it's the biggest thing is going to be the offensive line. Last year, LSU gave up 7 sacks to Florida. They also had Will Campbell at left tackle last year, who was also gone. They made there's been a lot of rotation on the offensive line. I don't think this is the top offensive line that's coming back. Number one, I think they're going to look to throw the ball a lot more with Garrett Nussmeier back there. We've talked about him, what he's going to be able to do. They went out and got extremely aggressive in the portal on the wide receiver side. I think he'll be a great running back still. I mean, it's not like it's a far nod. I just didn't think he was number one, and there was those reasons that I just said. The size, what he's coming back into. I think Jaden Ball is going to be playing behind one of the top SEC offensive lines in the country and in a high run style offense like the Florida Gators. I think that was a great spot for him. I think Wisener going to be going back to Texas where he kind of, I would say, thrived in a multi-back verse, kind of had to step up when both of their backs went down last year and really filled into that role properly. It could also be, I mean, look, I think some people might think, hey, Texas take a step back because of their offensive line. I think there's just a ton of talent back there. I think with the mobility and arch that Quinn did not have, will open things up a little bit. Same reason why I like Jaden Ball. When you got a mobile quarterback, you got to look for both guys to do something to you, which allows for your running back to just get a little more free, a little more comfortable, if you will. Go ahead and defend your. If I didn't convince you on why he should be back up there.
Yeah. Well, first of all, Trey Wisner is not going to be a featured back. He was last year because C.J. Baxter was hurt, and C.J. Baxter is back.
Mm-hmm.
C.J. Baxter was supposed to be the starter for that team last year until he went down. So there's that factor. And I just think Cade Durham, this is maybe not, it's not technically a line standpoint. I just think he's the most electrifying guy when he gets the ball in his hands.
Mm.
If you go back and you watch some of his highlights, I mean, when he takes the ball, he takes one cut. Like he's tough. I mean, it's not he's small. I get it. He's not like your prototypical Nate Frazier. He's not your Jaden Ball. But I like what he brings to that LSU offense, and he catches the ball very well. I just think he fits their scheme very well, and I think he's electric with the football in his hands. He's a very tough runner for his size too. But that's not taking anything away from these other guys. Like I love Jaden Ball. You know that I've been on him since the
Yeah,
beginning of
yeah,
last year. I said this guy is the most patient running downhill. He always falls forward. I wouldn't even mind if he was number one, to be honest, because I do. I think I love him, but I think he's going to be in that timeshare thing too, which
for
whatever.
sure.
This isn't necessarily like if they're in a timeshare or not. It's just talent wise, I believe. And I just think it's not that I think all these guys can make a case to be number one personally. I just like the electric explosiveness and the game breaking speed that Cade Durham has. I like what Jaden Ball brings and how he's patient and he just finds the hole and he gets the extra yards and he falls forward and he does all those things. I mean, he was better than Montreal Johnson last year, in my opinion. Every time I watched him, I thought he was way better. Uh, I like Wisner. Do not get me wrong. I think Wisner is going to fit in very well. He's the only 1,000-yard rusher returning out of the SEC, actually.
Yeah,
He's the only one. And I think a lot of it had to do with that offensive line. But, and you lose a top 10 NFL draft lineman to the league. I'm not saying that has an effect because Texas is going to put their line out there and they're going to do their thing. Uh, I like Wisner a lot. I just think that Baxter's going to take a little away from him, and I wouldn't be shocked if Wisner takes a little step back because of CJ Baxter coming back. But who knows? I mean, I'm not, not here to say that or not, but
a lot of
I
lists
think
had
there is
CJ
going to be a factor.
Baxter, I think like 6th or 7th in their top 10 for running back. So I don't disagree with that either. And look, they had Jarrett Gibson there last year, true freshman, who was an extreme talent that he was going up against. Jadon Blue played there as well too. So it wasn't like it was just the Wisner show. I mean, he was having to split carries with those two as well that had some true, showing at times, and he still elevated himself. CJ Baxter is a talent that can definitely take away from that, but he solidified himself last year in a tough schedule. And again, the only guy to return with 1,000 yards. Mind you, Jaden Ball, I believe, averaged more than all these guys here, if I'm not mistaken, on this list. I might be off on that fact there. Kind of want to check now. Kadem had 5.4. I want to say he had 5.8. Jaden Ball did. Let's see.
I think the best pro prospect here is Jaden Ball. If you're going to get in the him or Nate Frazier, and it's because they have the size. But
Yeah.
once again, I think that Jaden Ball is a better football player by
Yeah. Weiser is
just everything he
4.7.
does.
He averaged 4.7, and Ball was, I want to say, 5.1. Okay.
I like. It's not that I don't think
It's okay. It
Wisner's
was
number
more,
one.
actually.
I just don't.
To Rocket Money, one of our sponsors for today's show. You sign up for something, forget about it after the trial period ends, then you're charged month after month after month. The subscriptions are there, but you're not using them. In fact, I just learned that 85% of people have at least one paid subscription going unused each month. Thanks to Rocket Money, I can see all my subscriptions in one place and cancel the ones I'm not using anymore. And now, I'm saving money. Listen, y'all know we love Rocket Money here at Hightop Sports. We talk about them quite oftenly for a handful of reasons. Number one, because you're able to monitor your subscriptions. Number two, which I always love, is that you can cancel your subscriptions through the app, which is fantastic versus having to log in, see which app it is. You see it all in one place, and you can click it through the app, and they will handle the dirty work for you. Thirdly, which again is one of also my favorite features, is their little personal accountant. You can set up budgets for how you want to spend things with that certain month, whether it be shopping, whether it be movies, whether it be entertainment, all those things you can separate your little personal accountant in the palm of your hand to allow you to save more money and put more money back in your pocket. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps you find your cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and saved a total of $500 million on canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all the app's premium features. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions to reach your financial goals faster with rocketmoney.com. Go to rocketmoney.com/hightopsports today. rocketmoney.com/hightopsports today. The link is in the description for rocketmoney.com/hightopsports today.
Don't even think he's number one on his roster. I don't even know if he's number two on the roster of Texas because that freshman is from last year. He is a football player. I
Jarek?
mean, there is no getting hurt. Jarek, he can play.
I mean, he beat him out last year,
There's
but yeah, look, it'll be interesting to see. I think it's because of what he was able to do is why a lot of people have him on his top list. But I agree with you. This one is tough because I don't want to be biased with Jaden Ball. There's my reasons for Cade. We can dive into four. I like Nate Frazier a lot. I think Nate Frazier played out of his mind last year. I think this offensive line does take a step back. However, Cole Kublik has them ranked number one as his number one offensive line coming back. Obviously, they're able to just to recruit talent after talent after talent. I think the quarterback play obviously plays a factor into that. I think they're probably upgrading from Beck to Stockton. And maybe they get back to their old ways a bit. They've been trying to throw the ball more, this Georgia team. But Nate Frazier's played alongside, obviously, an NFL running back and Trevor Etienne, who just got drafted and obviously went much higher than I think I anticipated. Good for him. Averaging 5 a clip, 671 yards, 8 touchdowns. Again, sharing with a very communal back. And that was Trevor's job. I mean, that was him. But Nate Frazier came in and they didn't miss a beat. So I'm really excited to see what he's able to do outside of, a couple weekends a year for Georgia. But I think he'll do really well there. And I think you had him fifth. I think this is a healthy spot for most people for Nate Frazier's.
Yeah. Listen, there's so many good backs in the SEC this year. There's no getting around. It's hard to make a top five list in all truthfulness. But Nate Frazier has that size. He has that speed that all the NFL scouts will be looking after. And he plays in Georgia, and Georgia produces running backs. I mean, they just do. I mean, if you go back and you look at their history, it's no, all the way going all the way back to Terrell Davis. I mean, Terrell Davis wasn't even on. I don't even think he played for Georgia. I think he was like the second or third on the depth chart, and he was one of the best running backs in the NFL. So, and you go look at their history, and you look what Nate Frazier, his size, his speed, how he blocks, and just he's the complete package. Uh, I like I said, you can make a case for any one of these guys to be number one. I just think it's a talent full of. It's just a big talent pool in the SEC when it comes to running back room.
I put Amari Daniels here. You got Jay Knott in your top four for Oklahoma, transfer from California. And I'll let you talk about that. I like Amari Daniels here simply just because of what he was able to do last year. I think this A&M line is healthy as well. I think it's a top line in the SEC, and I think that he'll just quietly get it done. Again, he doesn't necessarily pack the star power as these four right here that we're talking about, and maybe Opp kind of pulls through, and there's a couple on that Texas lineup that could probably pop as well. I didn't want to put double. I mean, you could arguably put maybe another Texas guy on this list, or even look Jacoby Jackson at Florida. He rushed for over 500 yards last year, and he really didn't get started until Montrell went down. We had a 3-committee back last year with Trayon Webb going down, and then Montrell and Jacoby didn't really get his engine going until the end, and he's a JUCO transfer that could really get the ball rolling. So There's those two teams up top there are talented in that running back room. But talk to us about Ott on why you think he should have been top five.
Jaden Ott last year at California, I mean, he didn't have the season that everyone thought he did, but it was injury riddled. I mean, it's hard. It's hard. Like you're running back, you get beat up, you get hurt, and then your numbers drop, and then all of a sudden people don't think you're as good as you are. I've watched him from the year before. He had 1,300 yards rushing, and I can tell you, he was one of the most talented running backs I'd ever seen. He just understood the game. He was patient. He knew how to get through the hole. He could catch the football. He did all the things. And what I like about him this year is I'm telling you, this Oklahoma team is better than people are giving him credit for. Uh, Between him and Mater, them two are going to make that team way better than that 6-7 record they had last year. I think that this Oklahoma team is going to shock people. I know that Paul Feinbaum, who I can't stand, thinks Oklahoma is going to be absolutely abysmal. I disagree. I think the only thing that held them back last year was quarterback play, and they have a way better one in place this year.
Well, look, I think it's a perfect transition. That's our top five running backs headed into next year, but a perfect transition, excuse me, there into our next segment, which is Flop Watch. So Oklahoma is an interesting one because we chose to use the Josh Pate top 25 list that just dropped to utilize these arguments. There isn't really a right list or a good list. I was trying to find more of a consensus list, right, with more personalities or opinions to where it was because again, this is just one. This is Josh Pate's mind, so it's one person, but it doesn't. At the end of the day, you can pick and choose, split hairs over it. The idea of it is we're trying to find a top 20 team, preseason team that probably won't be there by the end of it. And this Oklahoma team finished or is projected 10. I haven't seen too many people with Oklahoma this high until Josh Pate. And I find it interesting because I respect his opinion. I think he does a good job of going through his reasons of why he believes the team should be up there. Look, he's got Florida up there, so I can't be mad at him. But out of this list, and I'll let you go first, Ty, where do you think he got it wrong? Not that it's wrong, but who's flop watch for you?
I'm probably going to take a lot of smoke for this, and it's not Florida. It's Alabama. Um, It's not that I don't think that Alabama's good, but when I go through the top 10 and I go look at what they lost and how they performed last year, people don't realize how important Milroe's running was to that football team. And they have now Ty Simpson, who is a pro style quarterback, who is a completely different football player than Jalen Milroe was. And if you go look at the games they won, Milroe's rushing yards are just out of this world. Now they still have Ryan Williams on the outside, who we all know is a great football player, but Jam Miller in the backfield doesn't make it go. He doesn't. They have Proctor, who may be the best left tackle in the game. He might be the number one overall pick by the time this is all said and done.
Yeah.
But that offensive line struggled last year also, and now you bring in a new offensive coordinator who DeBoer knows very well, but that doesn't mean his Alabama players know it very well. So when you sit back and you look with all the question marks that I have for them on offense, I mean, it wouldn't shock me one bit if they lost 4 or 5 football games. Would not shock me one bit.
That's not a bad take. I like it a lot. I think I said it in our show last night. There was correlation between a lot of these lists. One of the correlation was Georgia and Miami. No one really had a good feel. Some people had Georgia higher. Some people had Bama lower, right in the 8 and 9 spot. And I think that tells you that they don't quite know where to put them. And a lot of where you could be carrying this weight is just the fact of the logo, what they've been, how they've recruited. There's talent there. But Alabama, there's a lot of question marks. They're lacking the identity that we've known for so long. And even with DeBoer, like we know that, okay, he took Washington, but we really don't know DeBoer. And that was always my biggest thing is when Bama hired him, everyone was like, this is the greatest hire ever. It's like, guys, don't act like we know who DeBoer is, like out of nowhere. Like, I understand we look at his record, he won, but where did he win? And these are my big question marks. And I think, look, nothing to take away, but there's just not enough sustainability to really get you hyped up. I think it's a great pick. For me, I would love to pick on Oklahoma here. We kind of had that part already. We already did that part of the show. And I think that'll kind of just be dull. This, I know I'll get flack for this. This fan base loves to get rowdy, and they'll probably think that it's biased, or and there might be, but I try not to be one of these shows. It's Miami, and I'll tell you why. I think Carson Beck obviously hasn't thrown the ball well. He he disappointed me thoroughly. Not you. You were all over the ball on that one. I'm not quite sure how he's going to come in and do. He just didn't look. I mean, that guy was placed in a system that he was should have thrived in, should have had success in. Was had plenty of talent around him. I think Miami takes a step back. They were extremely portal heavy this time around, which didn't seem to be their formula. I'm okay with portal heavy teams if that's your identity. Miami, in my opinion, was recruiting very well and building and developing in a sense, or appeared to be doing that. A lot of guys left. A lot of guys are coming in. A lot of question marks on those points. This schedule is tough. I think Cam Ward did a lot of magical things for that team last season, similar to what Jordan Travis did for FSU, which you've talked to a bunch of times. They got to play Florida, which is obviously always going to be a tough one. I think at Florida State is going to be a tough one. I've got some inside info that I want to talk to you about Florida State. They're making a complete flip turnaround. I think they're going to be a fun team to watch next year. This SMU team, which is not on this top 20 team, which foreshadowing might be my team to watch out for in the Cinderella, because we're rallying back here to watch as they were last year. Syracuse, a team that already took down Miami, that Fran Brown team isn't one to play with. And fortunately, they don't have to play North Carolina or Clemson, or it could get really ugly. But they do also play Notre Dame to kick the season off, which is going to be an absolute dogfight for them. So I think Miami's got a rude awakening for them headed into this ACC next year, and I think that's a team that could fall back, be a team that flops. That's currently in the top echelon for this rankings. I think we took two solid ones there.
I do, and I do like the Miami flop because I'm not sold. Cam Ward was very, very special that team. People just don't realize how important he was. I mean, there was a lot of times where he was making plays with his feet that Carson Beck has no shot to make.
No.
I like
hitting throws that Carson Beck's not going to hit. I think their running back core is still there. I think they have a great line, right? I think those things will all still be there. Guess what? Georgia had those things too. These are things that are still there. The wide receiving core, I think there's some question marks. I think they've got a solid group of young guys coming up, but unanswered to a certain extent. I think defensively,
I'm not a Cristobal fan either. I mean, let's not get it twisted. I think Mario Cristobal is the most. I can't believe he's still tenured, to be honest, but that's my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, again, I feel like we're kind of just beating this drum, both being Florida State and Florida fans. I know some of the Miami fans that watch the show think that we're being egregious here, and that's fine. You're gonna love having fun with it.
It is a biased person, and let's not get it twisted. I'll talk good about Florida.
Agreed.
I'll talk bad about Florida State.
I think Ty is healthy, and I think my takes were healthy. I'm saying this because I like to have healthy conversations, and I should be able to pick an opposing team here without thinking that it's just me attacking. Look, I love the Bama pick. Oklahoma would be my next pick, but we beat them up last week. I think the rest of those teams have there's a lot of exciting features of why they should be up there. A crazy outlier could be Ohio State, but there's just so much talent. It's just hard to fall, and their schedule doesn't allow for them to do that. You know what I mean? So they would really have to lay a complete egg to fall off. Georgia Tech might be a bit of a reach, but that seems almost too easy of a fallback, right? So you need something that's got some tackness to it. I think Miami and Bama are two solid ones.
Some of these teams, I looked at sleeper teams when you were saying Cinderella, and then I saw they were on the top 20. I'm like, well, how is that? Okay, never mind. Illinois, I was like, oh, they're a little bit of a sleeper. They're near the top 20. And I saw Georgia Tech, they're a little bit of a sleeper. They're top 20. I'm like, what do we got going on here?
So let's get into this. Look, I spelled Cinderella incorrectly, and then I was like, look, I can spin it and just call it Cinderella.
I want to see Dan Lanning one more time.
Was my Cinderella was my play here. For top, we're gonna go back to that list now and take a look. Well, I guess it doesn't matter. They can't be on that list. So I'll let you kick it off. Of who was your team that wasn't on that top 20 again? You've seen
once again. This feels like just such a homer pick, but it's like if I go look at those teams on there, it's Florida State. I'm not a huge but we're
gonna get burned.
I can't believe honestly that I'm actually
you're
buying
telling
into
me Florida State's gonna finish in the top 20.
Yes, I can't believe I'm buying into it. I've done research and I've saw this stuff, and every one of these portal guys that they got there, it's a senior-led offensive line, and that was their biggest fall last year is they could not block anyone, and they had one of the worst quarterbacks in the country playing quarterback. I mean, let's not get it twisted, but I like that the Gus Malzahn offense is run by Thomas Castanais. I can tell you that he will run that offense very, very well. And what I like is they added Deuce Robinson on the outside and they added Squirrel White, which people aren't talking about Squirrel White, but I think he fits that system to a T. Now, what I really like is the running back room
Mm.
because you have Roy Dell Williams and you have Cam Davis and you get Jalen Lucas back and you get all those guys back. I think they have put the right pieces. I'm not saying they're the most talented team in the world, but I think they put the right pieces in the right places to make a run in the ACC. That's just my opinion. I'm not saying I think Clemson's the best team in that. It's not even close to me. I think Clemson's going to win the ACC. But if you go look at the ACC, I mean, it's just not that difficult. And I think that they can beat some of these teams. I'm not sold on SMU after what they did last year. I don't know. I think they could end up being shock some people and get top 20.
I don't hate it. Said a lot of things that I liked. I talked to a guy this weekend who is a part of the program. Actually works. I don't know how much I can say. Works in the recruiting program. So I was talking to about a couple guys that transferred out, the reasoning for it. And it was kind of interesting hearing his take. He spoke about the running back room. Cam Davis is sliding down that list. But you kind of alluded to that. You're getting Jalen Lucas back, who you were high on, I think, last year or 2 years ago about being kind of breakout players. I remember this guy, very
It was
twitchy,
last
very
year.
fast.
Yeah, it was last year.
Roydell Williams, another big one there too. So you kind of were on that point. But then again, the same thing that he was alluding to is that, look, we all agree that Thomas Castellanos is not going to be an NFL style quarterback. That's not what they're looking for. They're looking for a guy that's going to fit in this Gus Malzahn, this system. And you bring in a guy like Squirrel White. You just bring in a lot of speed, a lot of movement, very, very fast, fits it very well. And I think they can have success in this ACC. That even though, yes, Clemson is that highly favorite, it kind of from there is open. It really is. Like I said, if Miami's a flop watch, will they play FSU? Okay. SMU, I'm high on them. I think Syracuse is high, but all these teams have holes that Florida State obviously can take advantage of if they can just figure it out. Like as quickly as it flipped, they can quickly flip back on. So I don't hate it.
I think it's just pieces. I think the pieces are in place to like I said, they don't have a ton of NFL talent or whatever, but I think they all fit to what they want them to do.
And to go win some games.
That's super important.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna win more than 2.
I'm need to figure out what the over-under is. I love it. Man, I kind of want to change my pick now because that was good. Mine feels too easy. Mine doesn't feel as exciting anymore.
Well, I mean, I have a little intake on the FSU, and I followed it, and I bought into this, and I can't believe I bought in, but I actually believe we're going to actually compete this year. I think we're going to be. Not saying we're going to be great, but I do think that we might surprise some people.
Yeah, so I was between. Look, I loved me some Fran Brown last year. I was big. I was going to be big on them. They weren't on anybody's top 20. I think they closed very strong. SMU was on a few people's top 20, but not this particular one. That was a team that I think that did healthy in the portal, did some things right. Syracuse didn't do a lot in the portal, and I thought that was my reason for not. They did okay. They just didn't do what I thought they would.
I mean, I think them. I'm sorry. I was just going to talk about Syracuse one more time.
Yeah, go ahead.
Them losing Gadsden and them losing LaQuint Allen and them losing Kyle McCord. That's
Huge.
their offense.
Yeah, that was my reasoning for it. They just lost a ton of big pieces. SMU keeps their quarterback. They keep a lot of the key pieces that made them who they were. And again, I know Cinderella. I mean, is that really a true Cinderella team? I mean, again, I don't think people expected to do what they did last year. People kept them off their top 20 this year. They kind of keep getting doubted and pushed back. And that was my reason for it, that I like them. Texas Tech's another one that I didn't see. I saw on a few people. I think they made a good run, and then they played a very healthy Big 12 conference last year. I think they did some great things, and they did phenomenal work in the transfer portal. Another team to watch. Again, there's so many out there. I think that UNLV Dan Mullen team could be a team to keep an eye out for. That one could be.
I was thinking about them too. I really was thinking about them also.
And look, I know us Florida fans love to hate on Dan Mullen, but it could be a fun one to watch. So I love it. Good stuff.
Still didn't give me your pick.
It's SMU, but it just doesn't feel like as good as yours was, because again, I felt like I've seen them on a few top 20s, but that was my ultimate pick, was SMU. I like SMU a lot. I liked them a lot last year. I was very high on them last year, all season long, and I'm still high on them this year. I think they're going to be great. I think again, Syracuse, I want them to be a good team. I think they just lost too much, and I think that's going
I
to
think
open the
they're
door for
going to
SMU.
be. I just think that they like had to bring that excitement to them last year, and they had all those senior guys on there that were so good and led them to such a great season. But I do think it's going to build up and turn into something really good over at Syracuse. I just don't think this is the year. I think maybe
Agreed.
we're 1 or 2
I think
years
they're
away.
going the right way. I just think, yeah, 100%. I think they did the right things to be good last year to make the excitement work. I just don't think they got a transfer quarterback as well. So the LSU kid that has 3 years of experience, which made me feel a little bit better. They've got a guy that's played in the SEC. He's been developed. He's great size. Was a 4-star cat coming out of high school. So there's talent there. Love Fran Brown a lot, but they did lose some pieces, some big pieces as well. So SMU Syracuse is kind of my two-way pick. I kind of took a freebie there,
I mean,
but
I like it. I do. I like it because I got a little hot seat that's kind of the same way.
okay, perfect. Yeah, so let's dive into it. So this one was a little bit interesting. Who was one bad Saturday away from being canned? And I took data into this because obviously everyone always comes up with their hot seat list. Luke Fickle I saw was up there, which I thought was a bit crazy. I don't feel like he is. Obviously Sam Pittman's always going to be up there. Bob Stoops is one that's starting to circulate a little bit. I think Kentucky, they're okay with keeping it mid, but it just feel like they had some momentum there. And they just haven't really capitalized on it, and it's running
Stoops is
into
like
that.
Mike Tomlin. He just does enough to keep his job, and then that's it.
It's running into that Calipari era though, where it's like we're just sick of looking at you. Like we're sick of
Yeah.
being mid
Uh,
and sick of looking at the same person every year. Like that's where I think they're falling into that category. Oklahoma is a team that's being watched out for. I don't see Brent being canned in the middle of the season. I got a team, and my data backs it up, but I'll let you go first.
Well, honestly, Venables was my first one, and it's not necessarily I don't see him getting canned, but I do think he's on the hot seat, and the reason is because Oklahoma's been mediocre over the last couple years, but now you did the right things, you brought in the right pieces. Now you got to show that you can take these pieces and turn them into wins, and if you can do that this year, I'm still big on him. I've never been big on him, and this is the first year that I actually believe that because I am a big believer in Mater. I've watched him over at Washington State, and I can tell you the kid can flat out play. And if you get Ott to do what he did not last year with his injuries, but you get him the year before, and then all that kind of works together. So when you get a little running game going, then you can throw the ball down the field. When teams know you can't throw the ball down the field, it's hard to run. It just is. And last year they did not show any ability to throw the ball down the field. It just wasn't there. Now you get a guy who can do that. But if Venables don't win now, he
So hold on. So
it doesn't look good.
you're high on them, but you still think he's the most likely coach to get canned midseason.
I'm not. No, no, no. So when you said hot seat, I'm saying like you have to perform or you're done, and that's kind of where I was at. So like I kind of took this a different way.
Okay,
And
but either
Mario
way, but
Cristobal was my
he's still
second one. Yeah, yeah.
okay.
Yeah,
Interesting.
so like I'm just saying that these guys, like when I said hot seat, I don't necessarily think they might get fired in the middle of the season, but if they don't win early, they're on the hot seat. That's what I'm saying because you
Okay.
actually now this is in your fourth season for Brent Venables. I think he's like 22-17, something mediocre is what he was. He was 6-7 last year, and he had Jackson Arnold, who obviously wasn't the guy that they thought he was or who anyone thought he was. He was high on the quarterback list. Uh, but Venables now has put some guys in place, and I can tell you, Oklahoma's not going to take another 6-7 season. I can assure you that those people are going to start calling for heads.
I don't think Miami. I don't think Cristobal's there. I just I don't I think I was there last year. I felt like if he didn't perform last year, he would have been on the hot seat. Like he should have been in the same category as Billy, but he performed. I mean, outside of choking, but they 10-2. I mean, that's still a healthy performance. I don't think they're there yet.
Yeah, so I think it's hard to get fired in the middle of a college football season. I don't
It's
think it's
very
like the
hard. That's
NFL.
why it's a very
So
hard. Yeah. So look,
I just took the hot seat.
that's fine. And then look, I think it's much harder. That's why I wanted to kind of change it a little bit because it makes it a little more aloof, I guess. If you try to find the guy who's going to fire mid-season, like who's just that
That's
just
hard.
a Trent Diffler, I think is a really good one from UAB that where they'll just like they'll cut it loose in the middle of the season. That one's an easy one. I feel like of like, but I want to go a little further than that, and I kind of did some googling. Oklahoma's only fired one in the last 30 years mid-season. Like these teams don't show historic paths of firing someone in the middle of the season, right? There's a school that's
It's
had
because football's different.
there's a school that's had
It's just
three.
different than any other sport.
School
Right.
has done 3 in the last, I guess, I don't know, 30, 40 years. 3, they fired 3 coaches in the middle of the season. The reason I looked at this because I felt this guy was on this list. And it's USC
Oh, I
and
like
old
it. I
Lincoln
do like
Riley.
it.
Yeah, look,
I
so
do actually. That is a very good pick. Yep.
here's the thing keeping him at bay right now is he's got the number 1 recruiting class by a mile. Got 28 commits. And I think this man is is doing it for all the right reasons to because this schedule is a gauntlet once again. They're rolling into this Big Ten. They've got Notre Dame, and I looked at their schedule. This was another thing that I did. Let's take a look at their schedule and see, like, hey, when can it just be like we're done with this here? Okay, it gets dicey out here in the Big Ten. So it starts off easy, and then it gets Purdue, Michigan State, then it gets cooking. Illinois, Michigan, Notre Dame, Nebraska. That's your stretch. If that thing goes haywire, you can call it quits. That Nebraska game, circle it. November 1st, it's the last month of the year. That's still middle of the season, okay? Last month of the year, if they're 4-4 at that point, because they should win the first 4 games, but they lose the next 4 in a row, you might be able to see it goodbye. And at that point, the recruiting class will start to fall apart because we're getting a little bit closer. They did this last year, start off very hot with recruiting, and those things all fell apart. So I'm not buying any of that smoke right now. That is my guy. Now they could burn it on fire, but if there's someone that's gonna get fired middle of the season because it is just a complete dumpster fire, it's him because of what he has not done and how the schedule is lined up is not in his favor.
And yeah, and I actually, it's a very good pick. I mean, I could definitely see how you took, being in the middle of the season getting fired. I like it. I mean, obviously, you don't want to ever want to see, but in college football, it is hard. But so I like to pick that if you're trying, like, if you want a guy who has a chance to get fired, that makes a lot of sense. And honestly, USC to me hasn't had like the fire that they had when Pete Carroll was there.
Yeah,
I mean, they seem soft. You know what I
yeah.
mean? And it just seems like they have all the talent, but they're soft every year.
They're your typical out west team. Like they just like you said they were a team to be feared. They had a swagger about them when Carroll was there. And I listened to an interview with AJ Hawk in the Bus with the Boys. Incredible, just the way they talked about how that USC team operated, who they were, what they represented. It's just not the same. I mean, it's just nowhere near. It's not fun anymore. And I was always argue like, hey, football's good when USC is good, but it's not the same USC. It's just not the Reggie Bush, Matt Leinart. Like those teams were just raw, a lot of talent.
They were also tough and physical up
Yeah,
front. I mean, I remember they had Ray Malaluga in the middle, and that guy was just mean. I mean,
yeah.
they just don't have like the physical defenders anymore to me. I don't know. I think they're missing something out there. I don't know what it is. I don't know if they're coached too soft or what, but right, you're right. Riley better figure it out or he is going to get
Lincoln's
kicked.
never really been a big tough guy though. I mean, think about his Oklahoma teams; they were just fast and furious style of teams with a swagger about them, but not a punch you in the mouth swagger. It was just we're just cooler, sexier than you, which is fits the USC vibe. But playing Big Ten football ain't the vibe, and I think that's where look Dan Lanning kind of figured out a good mix, a good hybrid. I called it, but got punched in the mouth by the truth when it really came to the top of Ohio State, but held their own, I would say. But I think Oregon's going to take a step back too.
Yeah, I mean, I also agree. I think they also take a step back, but like, I don't know, man. Every time I think about like these teams now that like have gone to this less physical style of football, like LSU, Brian Kelly's not a physical guy, and to me, that team doesn't. I mean, they obviously they gave up 7 sacks to Florida in one game. They don't. They weren't physical enough that their defensive line couldn't stop anyone. I mean, I don't know. I don't like that these coaches have become kind of soft and like fast and want to run, 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 run. I'd rather you get punched. I've been Les Miles. I wasn't a huge Les Miles fan, but I can tell you what, his team's played physical and they played tough. You were going to get a
Yeah,
dogfight every single time.
agreed. Agreed. Well, good stuff. Great conversations. Great list. Great flop watches. Great Cinderellas that you guys can look out for. I think there's some better ones out there. So let us know down in the comment sections your Cinderella teams.
It's hard. It's hard right now. I mean, we're still in spring. We haven't seen nothing. We don't know anything. We're out there. We're throwing some things out there. I like it, honestly. I think it's great.
Yeah, look, I think the Cinderella ones are hard because there's more options, so you really can't be wrong. Flop watches, I think you can kind of hone in a little more. You got a list to kind of go off of. Hot seat, that was a great one. I think the running back list was healthy one too. It's not as sexy as quarterbacks, but I think that this is probably one of the more exciting running back crew. It could be some top performers. So fun stuff. Great show as always, boys and girls. We'll see you guys next Monday live at sometime in the morning. I don't know what time we post it, but y'all be good. Smash the like button, subscribe, and until then, boys, it's Cowboy time. Shelton, peace and love, baby.